think many of us have the wrong idea of the term self-awareness. I mean, the purpose of self-awareness is to improve the quality of your life, right? And self-aware people are usually seen as emotional intelligent. And they are people who are able to make an assessment of their life and say, okay, that's what's going wrong and this is what I need to change. And would you say that you are self-aware, and would you say that your life improves exactly the way that you would like to? If that's not the case, then you are like me a few years back. Ever since I am a little boy, I was very introspective, and I always thought I just need to look inside, think about life, and that's it. Job is done. But my observations were not always helpful. And that's why I know it's so easy to get stuck in your own mind and in your feelings without knowing a way out. That's why I think self awareness or introspection can go in so many different directions. And if you're not careful, it can make you feel depressed and slow you down instead of actually helping you. And I don't want this to happen for you or for me, so I came up with a concept I call productive awareness. But be careful, productive self awareness might change your life and it might help you to be much happier than you are at the moment. So if you don't want that, then you should stop watching right now. So then let's dive into the concept of productive awareness. Productive awareness consists of three elements. We have first order awareness, we have second order awareness, and we have something I call applied awareness. So let's dive into all three of them, and together they will help us understand and help us to change our life for the better. So first order awareness is the most purest sense of awareness. It's about experiencing and observing what is in this very moment. It's being aware of the warmth of the sunlight on your skin. It's being aware of the kids playing in the backyard. And it is noticing the sinking feeling in your stomach when you forgot something. And to make things very, very easy, I will give you some questions that you can ask yourself to come into the present moment, to notice things that are happening inside you and around you. The first question is, how am I feeling? And how does the other person feel? How does my body feel? Is there any discomfort? What is my inner critic saying? How does it influence me? Am I judging someone or something right now? Or am I judging the experience and therefore lose touch with the present? So with these questions, you will just get right into the present moment. I think it is such a effective and easy method to come back, to make an assessment of the present moment, of how you feel, what's going on in this environment that you are in. And there's one thing you need to be careful about when you ask these questions, because it is obviously still happening in the mind. You will use your thoughts sometimes to think about something. But there's a very thin line, because very easily you could slide into a inner dialogue. And this is not helpful if you want to be in the present, because once you start an inner dialogue, there's this mind chatter, there are other thoughts, there's criticism, so you will easily go into your mind and you will forget the present moment, or what you feel, what you are observing. So you might lose track. But these questions can be very magical, because sometimes you just look at something and then, boop, it just dissolves, it just disappears. And you can test this right now. You can ask yourself, for instance, the following question: what am I thinking right now? So just sit down, close your eyes, and let the mind do whatever it wants to do, and then just ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? And you might notice that your mind will become silent, and even if it's just for a little moment, but it will be quiet. The thoughts are like shadows, rushing through your brain, your mind. And by asking a question like this, you turn on the headlamp and direct this lamp, the light, towards a shadow. And when there's light, there's no shadow anymore. So the shadow disappears. And of course, you will not be able to maintain that. You will not keep the attention, the light on one spot. So you will start moving around, like thinking again, and then the shadows come back and you will have your mind chatter again. But that's why these questions are so helpful to get you back on track and to come into the present moment. And of course, there are many other methods that you can use. I think for beginners, these questions are super helpful. But if you seriously want to be more in the present, then I would recommend you to implement some sort of mindfulness practice. Obviously, you can do meditation. I love meditation, but I don't want to just mention meditation and then just call it a day. So there's something like mindfulness practice that you can do all the time, and you don't have to sit down and close your eyes for that. And there's a very easy exercise I can really recommend to you, and that is called the five senses exercise. For this exercise, you need to identify things. First, you identify 5 things that you can see. Then you identify 4 things that you can touch. Then 3 things that you can hear. Then 2 things that you can smell. And then 1 thing that you can taste. I love this exercise. It's so easy to do. It's so easy to remember. And you can do it anywhere you are, with open eyes, during a walk, in class, during work. And it will bring you right into the now, into your senses. You can also just do a simple body scan. If you sit or you stand, you just put your attention towards one body part, one after another. You usually start with the head and go down until you reach your toes, and you will put your attention towards your forehead, your nose, your ears, your neck, and so forth. Usually you hold your attention for 1 or 2 breaths or a few seconds until you move on to the next body part. This is something usually that you can usually combine with yoga as well, or in combination with meditation. It's a very common practice and it's super powerful and useful. Otherwise, just go out, just go into nature, have a walk, go into the city, and just set yourself an intention to just observe whatever is happening around you, whatever is going on, what do people do. And of course, without judgment, you just want to watch. You just want to observe and just be present instead of saying, okay, that's a person eating way too much ice cream, or look what this person's wearing. What usually helps me to interrupt the criticism or the judgment is simply thinking, right? So we still use some sort of thinking process, but it's a bit minimalistic. I'm just saying to myself, am I this alone? I interrupt this chattering, this judgment. So try that out whenever you are outside and you just want to observe. It's helpful to, bring you back and interrupt the thinking patterns. And then we have what I call the second order awareness, and that is taking a step back and looking at the big picture of our life. This is when we direct our attention towards the context in which we exist. That means we look at recurring patterns or the narratives of our lives. And this becomes easier now when I show you a couple of questions that I come up with that you can ask yourself, and that will automatically throw you a little bit back outside of your now moment, from this one first person perspective, and it will help you to see the big picture of your life. So you can ask something like, where am I at in life? Or what are recurring patterns in my thinking, choices, and behavior? Why do they occur? What is my self-image? And what are my self-limiting beliefs? For example, some of these self-limiting beliefs could be, I'm not a musical person. I can't learn new things at my age. Or something like, I'm just not smart enough to figure this out. And of course, you have your own personal beliefs, and some of them are not put into words yet. Sometimes you're just not conscious of these beliefs, so that's why you should ask yourself these questions. But sometimes it's even worse, and you are telling yourself and other people with conviction that this is the case as an actual fact. Like, yeah, well, that's just how I am. Really inquire into these limiting beliefs. They are so crucial for us to know, because only if you have identified them, you can tell yourself, then you can create a new belief that is more useful for you. And these limiting beliefs are just a subset of narratives that we tell ourselves. A narrative is like a story that we tell about ourselves, something that we think is part of our identity, part of our lives, something that we cannot change, but we oftentimes overlook that a narrative is just a story, a construct that we created that we can easily change, but we usually don't think of it that way. So a narrative could be, for example, I have to do this alone. I have to be independent. Or I'm just a brainy person. Or watch out for something like that. I've always been unlucky in love because I'm not lovable. And as you can see, these narratives are not always useful. But for now, you don't have to change them. You just need to identify them, become aware, become conscious of these narratives, these self-limiting beliefs, and become aware of the context of your life. And you've probably noticed that the second order awareness needs some more thorough contemplation. So, of course, you can sit down and do meditational practice. You can do mindfulness practice, but it is a bit more of a thinking process, and it might require you some focus to actually come to conclusions, to look at the big picture of your life. So what I like to do is to write it down. Again, for me, I say it a lot in my videos, writing is like thinking for me. It helps me to direct my focus onto a page, onto a specific question that I can then answer and contemplate and come up with new ideas. And if you want to practice that, take one question that I showed you and ask yourself this question in your daily journal. Just take one question per day and answer it. Take 15 minutes, 20 minutes and answer it. And the next day you're going to answer the next question, and you will get a better, deeper understanding about the context in which you exist. And you will be so amazed of the insights that you will gain if you do this for a while. But even though we are using our brain for the second order of awareness, make observations and don't make judgments. That is super important for this exercise, to keep the judgment at bay. So whenever you are in the present moment, or you take a step back and look at the situation of your life, be on high alert, because we always think and plan and remember, and if we do that, we get disconnected from the present moment, which we don't want. And there's something you need to watch out for, because it is very, very detrimental for our efforts to become self-aware. And that is what I call the complaint lane. The complaint lane is paved with negative self-talk, mind chattering, excessive complaining, complaining in groups. It is the one-way road of negativity where no change can happen. You complain, others complain, everybody complains, nothing changes. Complaining is what paralyzes you. And that's why many of us get stuck in their lives, even though they think they analyze everything, even though they think through, they get stuck because all they do is complaining and whining and debating it with friends, having another transparent talk. And I come from a society where people love to talk, and which is great. It's a progress, right? It's good to talk about feelings. It's good to talk about situations. But at some point, it's enough. At some point, you need to move towards something else. Sometimes just we know what's going on. We know how we feel. We know something's bad. Something's not working out. But we still are not able to change. And that is because we are getting stuck in thinking and chatting and debating. So be aware of this. Avoid the complaint lane. And to do that, I have a couple of amazing questions, as always, that will bring you onto the highway of your life. Because with these questions that I give you right now, you will move towards something I call applied awareness. Let's look at them. Question number one is, what can I do about the situation? How do I want to be? How do I want to act? How could my action affect others? Number four, how does this affect my self-image? And the last question, what stories are not serving me? Now, you might have noticed that these questions have a certain quality to them. Automatically, just by using this question, you are directing your focus towards something way more productive. You will think about actions to take, you will think about processes that are involved, and potential consequences. Of course, these are not all questions that you should ask yourself, but I think you get a good understanding of the way this works. If you want to move into action after doing this observational work of being in the present, of stepping out and looking into the whole situation, the whole context of your life, you will want to not get stuck in this observational mode. You will want to see what can work next. What is the solution for my situation? Of course, that is only the case if you want to change something. If you observe and you're just happy, well, then forget about the applied awareness, then we're good to go. But I assume that you will find something that you're not happy with and that you might want to complain about. But with these questions, you will see improvement much faster. And you might have noticed that there's a certain type of question that doesn't appear in this list. And these are questions that start with why. Let's look at some questions as examples so you see where I'm getting at. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I ever get it right? Why do I always mess things up? Why does this keep happening to me? Why is life so unfair? Why am I like this? You see, this is so easy for us to ask. Sometimes we cannot help it. It just appears in our mind. We ask ourselves these questions. But truly self-aware people and people who are happy with their introspection are not asking questions like this. They don't say like, why am I like this? They say, okay, what about this makes me uncomfortable? How can I change that? You see, this is a much more constructive and healthy way of being, because it connects your observations, it connects your present moment with actions that you want to take. Like this, you will avoid being stuck in the complaint lane. And these why questions usually trigger something in us. When we ask ourselves, why does this happen to me? Why is life like this? We tend to construct another story, or we just use a story that we have in our minds. And that's what we wanted to avoid, right? That's why we ask ourselves, what are our narratives? What are our self-limiting beliefs? We want to become aware of them. By asking why questions, we tend to start complaining again. We tend to try to reason and find explanations why we are in the situations. And this is not constructive. This will just put us back on the complaint lane where we are getting stuck. So that's why introspection can make you feel depressed. If people are just asking like, why is my life so unfair? They might have this inner dialogue and they think I'm introspective, but it's not a constructive way. It's not productive. In a minute, I will give you a step-by-step guide on what to do next for you. But let's recap first. So we want to be in the present moment, of course. And that means we are trying to observe what's going on in ourselves, what's going on outside, and we try not to judge. We try to become aware of our inner critic and slow down the mind chatter and detach from our mind chatter so we can make basically that's just how we can enjoy life itself. If we just stay in the first order awareness, we are probably quite good to go. Because just by looking at things in the moment, asking a question about what's going on, about our thoughts, can dissolve many things that would bother us otherwise. And sometimes we want to take a step back and look at the big picture of our life, look at patterns, look at the context in which we live our lives. And no matter what we do, when we find out that there's something we don't like, then we will ask questions that will direct our attention towards action. All right, the 4 steps you should take right now in order to improve your life with self-awareness is, number 1, Establish a meditation or a mindfulness practice to become more present. Number 2 is contemplate a bigger picture question each day in your journal. These are questions that I have given you, and they are like, where am I at in my life? What are recurring patterns in my thinking, choices, behavior, and so forth? Number 3, ask questions that focus on action. And number 4, avoid the complaint lane and avoid constructing stories. It's as simple as that. So let me know what you think about this. Write a comment if that works for you. And please like that video if you like the video, and share this with people who you think should hear about this.